Welcome to Catch the Craze. We are the heart of the industry.
I'm so crazy. You so crazy. Crazy. Who's the craziest? I'm so crazy. You so crazy. Crazy. Who's the craziest? I'm so crazy. You so crazy. Crazy. Who's the craziest? I'm so crazy. You so crazy. Crazy. Who's the craziest? Now who's the craziest? Now who's the craziest? Now who's the craziest? Now who's the craziest?
Welcome to Catch the Craze. I am Sam the Crazy Man Vera, and I'm sitting here with my co-hosts,
Jonathan the Psycho Sci-Fi.
Michelle St. Martin.
Michelle St. Martin. Don't let him fool ya. Oh no. Ba-da-bum-ba-da. What am I doing here? Oh, okay. I'm wondering what's going on with my... Okay, there it is. So, today on the show, we're going to have Rich Bernatovech of Sentinels and Drumfish Productions, and he's going to be talking about Sentinels and the business of publishing and what he plans on doing and some of the new things that they're working on going forward. But what's going on today? The Eisner nominees were announced. We weren't bastards, and so. Yeah, Nazis. And
That will change.
Yes, yeah, one day. One way or another. All right, so now, see, and it's also considered the Oscars. I'm reading something on Newsarama. It says, after pouring through thousands of books and comics submitted, a 5-person blue ribbon panel of judges have arrived at the 2007 nominees for the Will Eisner Comic Industry Awards, considered the Oscars of the comic book industry. And they've come up with quite an eclectic mix. You're right. So, I'm just joking. I'm just hating right now because, so, right now, if you look at the Eisner Awards, the nominees for 2007, for Best Short Story, you have The Black Knight, Go Ups Again by Donna Rosa and Uncle Scrooge, Gemstone, Drawn and Quarterly, Vertigo and DC, Marvel's always nominated, DC's always nominated, Fantagraphics are always in there, Image is in there. They got books from Image. Dark Horse is in there. Dynamite, Tokyo Pop. So, they have a lot of main, companies that have notoriety and built a platform and foundation.
IDW, which I like. I like that comic.
Yeah. But, what does it take to be nominated? What is it that they're looking for? Is it units sold? Is it, distribution? Is it, what is it? Because if you are an independent publisher who doesn't have distribution, you self-distribute, are you automatically rejected because there's no notoriety, or if you haven't built a fan base and they're afraid that if they nominate you, you're basically going to go, who's that? You know what I mean?
Well, how many is independent that's nominated?
They have, can you really consider it independent? Image Comics.
Exactly.
They got, so it's like
I don't see one that's self-published.
Simon and Schuster.
Hello.
You know what I'm saying? So, it's like, how do you, what is it that they're looking for? I guess politically, they'll give you a political answer and say, no, we look, for quality or whatever. But is it really? Or is it popularity? Is it, I don't know. And so I'm not sure what's in that mindset. How do you get to Eisner?
That's a good question because I'm seeing here, I'm not seeing anything that's self-published here.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever have.
Gumby. You know what I mean? It's like,
I see NBM, I see Dark Horse, I see Fantagraphics, I see Top Shelf.
Yeah.
I see IDW.
Yeah.
I see, of course, DC Marvel. I see Viz. Everybody's represented. So nobody's self-representing.
Right. Which is why I'm like, where's the voice for the little guy?
So hello.
Nobody cares about
Eisner?
the little guy. Say hello to my little friend. So it's like, how do you get there? It's like,
maybe what we need to do is create a platform, Crazy Comics.
No.
Catch the Craze.
Jeez, you're fired. Get out of here. Go home. You're done.
I need the hat.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Catch the Craze should create a platform for independence or something on that order.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I can't talk about it right now, but we are working on something. I'm working with, right now we're in talks, Catch the Craze and Keith Murphy. We're talking about something. And we're talking about a specific venue. We're talking to a promoter at a venue to make it that location once a year for this specific thing, which will cater to the small guy. So I can't talk about it now, But
Good stuff.
it is something that we're looking at for the small guy. The big guys have so much.
Yeah.
Give me some.
I'm sure that'd be part of the solution right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. It's
You know,
like,
I mean, it has to start somewhere.
Right.
You know, I'm sure the adult video market didn't have anything until Adult Video News put their little awards ceremony together.
Right. It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
And said, because it's like, well, if we're not going to get an Oscar. We're not going to get nominated for any Oscars. We better make our own
right.
little forte. We better make our own little kudos.
Yeah, because we have our hand out. We want a piece of that pie.
Right.
We don't want just the crumbs.
Right.
It's like, how many crumbs can I put together to make a full mouthful? You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
come on, give me something.
Right.
Something.
I even see Abrams there. Which is a major publisher in Simon & Schuster.
Yeah.
Which is like, whoa.
Marcosia is there. It's
Right.
Dynamite, Boom. They're independent, but they're an independent publisher. Boom there. That's good.
Yeah, but it's not self.
Yeah.
Nothing self-published. Nothing. Really.
Yeah. I wonder the honorable mention. Where is that? Best Publication Hall of Fame. Best special recognition. Oni, Tokyo Pop, Alternative, and Bodega. See, it's still the same thing. It's you would think that would be given to the unknown, not to the known. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't understand this. You know what I'm saying?
Right. They're all in some form or fashion known to me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see Drumfish Productions. I don't see Dream Child Press. I don't see I don't see none of that stuff. And it's like, is it because are they saying that that's not talent? It's not quality. I think it is. That's just me.
Right.
I don't know. Do you have to click your heels together to get there?
Right.
Saying there's no place like home.
Maybe it's just a lack of knowledge on their part.
Yeah, it's like.
Well, we was kind of alluding to that on another show where it was like just the general sentiment by big business towards the independent market is, oh, these guys kind of still have so far to go and so much to learn. But, you got to understand that you were there once.
Yeah, I know.
You're building up. Not you, but the company.
But if you look at it,
understand,
now I'm going to look at it from the judges' eyes, or from San Diego Comic-Con's eyes. This is an event that's at the biggest convention in the world. This is an event that gets tons of media exposure.
Right.
All the networks are going to be there. You get nominated. Your status in comics moves up.
Mm-hmm.
People take notice. You win. People want to work with you. And so they understand that they want to put people that are going to deliver. So, all right, if I'm a judge, it's just 5 judges, and they got to look. They got to look at 10,000 copies, books, submissions, and they're looking at everybody from the guy who stapled his own books at home to the more polished. And you got to look at it. And you got to say, all right, we have to deliver on our judgment just to nominate you. So we have to make certain that we're not going to be criticized for that nomination. So that we got to dissect it, and we have to be that much more attentive to every aspect of that product and the publication. So, because we're basically going to take you to the next level. You being here in this room, you're going to be amongst the best in the industry. So you got to be the best. So what are they looking for? So now, when they mention your name, does the press know that name? Oni Press, people know who they are. Tokyo Pop, people know who they are. Marvel Comics, so the expectation is there. They're going to deliver. Joey's Comics. It's not going to happen if you don't have distribution, if you didn't build something. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. You got to look at it from both sides of the fence. It is depressing in a sense because, you look and you look and you look, you don't see enough for the little guy. But no, and it's always going to be that way. There's always going to be a rebellion. There's always going to be those guys that feel left out, those guys that that want to be part of something, and so if they can't be part of it, they're going to make their own something, but they're always going to point and say, "We hate you."
I kind of stand to be correct because I see Donica,
who
a late freeze, best single issue or one shot, the second title down.
Let's see.
A late freeze by Donica.
Let's see what this is.
And she seems to.
Let's see.
She may be self-published, but it's still not enough.
Right.
Is that self-published work?
It might be because it was under her
It
name.
does look, it does look like a self-published. So that is what one self-published title.
We're reading now.
She worked for Spectrum Magazine, creative production development, Gallery Associates, instructor, public elementary schools. I mean, she's had exhibits.
Yes.
So she's been in the industry. BA from Yale University.
Mm-hmm.
You know, come on. This is a polished, educated person who has probably built a network and a foundation, understands, and of course, this would be the ideal person to give recognition to, because it's the epitome of what they want represented in the industry.
It's the status quo.
Yeah.
I see.
You know what I mean? Not taking away from it, because I'm looking at the work and it's clean.
Yeah,
It's
pretty good.
it's done well. You know what I mean? It's polished. So looks good, you know? And it's diverse, you know? So she's a painter, she's an artist, you know, she's a writer.
Right.
Well,
So
also,
of course you want, this, if she even wins, just being nominated, she's gonna get, they're gonna speak to her, and you got somebody in the comic industry who graduated from Yale.
Right.
That's not the norm. You know what I mean?
No.
You think about SVA, you're thinking about FIT,
Right.
you're thinking about the
Yeah.
Kubert School.
You're thinking about Pratt. You're
Right.
thinking about
You're not thinking about this. You even think about Cooper Union, which is more architectural, but that's still considered. I mean, you graduated art. You have an artistic background.
Right. Yeah.
But
yeah.
it's like, here it is. So you want someone like that in the press.
Well, I do think that there may be some things in collecting comics and looking at independence that are kind of automatic no-nos by the industry individuals and individuals linked with, Marvel and DC. Like, just simple page layout. That page layout is kind of your typical Marvel, DC, especially earlier years page layout.
Right.
It's 4 or 5 panels, all boxes, vertical, either vertical or horizontal. No, horizontal. And it's pretty clean. You don't see a lot of kind of pieced in panels.
Right.
So
I mean, this, as opposed to, I know last year there was some criticism.
It's traditional?
it's very traditional. It's not really
Right. But I mean, like, if you look at last year's nominees, there was a lot of flack about, most of it was mainstream. They're trying to diversify, so they're looking at independence from mainstream independence. I mean, we talk about independence, we're talking about mainstream, only press and all that stuff, to the big boys and all that stuff. And, so they're covering, it's more diversified this year. And I think as an independent out there trying to get even nominated or get noticed, I think, you have to go and step your game up, all of us do, and make sure that you have, like Rich says on the show, the right printer. They can make or break your book, because the quality of that print, that material. Because I know for a fact that I will never want to pick up a comic book ever again that felt the way it did back in the early '80s.
Yeah,
And it was that rough paper. You know what I'm saying? If I pick one up like that again, I'm gonna burn it.
I could sand my desk with
Yeah,
this.
it was horrible. But it's one of those things where you have to take all those things into consideration, because it's the quality of your printing, the quality of the packaging, the quality of your lettering, your inking, coloring, all that stuff falls into play.
Is there any entries that's a black and white book? I wonder how many of those got nominated.
I don't know.
I think there was a category for best black and white.
There was?
I think so. Don't quote me, though.
All right. Fun facts. Let's see.
That's why I said don't quote me. Could be wrong.
Best writer, best artist, best humor. And I thought we were eschewing
Best
for humor.
coloring, best lettering.
Best cover, coloring, lettering,
Didn't have
recognition.
Best black and white.
Best publication design, DC, Fantagraphics, Top Shelf.
Anything on the top? What's it be top?
Best short story, best single issue, best continuing series, best limited series, new series, publication for a younger audience. I thought that would have been us. See, I'm just being biased. It should have been duty. It should have been as an alien in my toilet. What are you, blind? Yeah, that's it. I want my sponsors' feedback. So,
Okay, nah, I'm not seeing it. Oh well.
but no, it's cool. I mean, how do you get there? I don't know. I guess when you find those judges, you corner them, you get them in the corner and say, spill the beans. What do I got to do? Who do I have to pay?
Well, there's got to be a criteria or something.
I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, come on. If they're saying best,
yeah,
and they're getting 10,000, you better be the best.
They ain't play. Yeah, they
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You better. Jamie's got a gun. So,
well, obviously it's got to stand out.
Yes.
At on some level, it's
Right.
got to just stand out above the others. Like I liked Batman 100. I like Paul Pope. So,
yeah.
his artwork is unique. It's not traditional by any means, not as far as I'm concerned. Anyway,
Nope.
I mean,
Nope.
I would not put Batman and Paul Pope together. But then again, in the beginning, you wouldn't put Batman and Frank Miller together either.
Right.
But it worked.
That was a marriage made in heaven.
Yeah, but still, it's like in the beginning, it's like what? But
Right.
then you get it, and you're like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
this feels good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
I don't know. I mean,
Wow.
that's just cool. And we attended on a different topic. We attended a venue, PodCamp in New York City. I'm a member of PodCamp, and it's a podcasting association, and it's free to members and the public too. It was at the New Yorker Hotel, and it's funny because even in podcasting, it's just like anything's competition. You're dealing with competitors. You're dealing with how you're delivering on content, consistency. I mean, we every Sundays or Mondays that we're going to deliver the new show. So if it's not Sunday, it's Monday. So it all depends on how much editing I have to do. But it's at a Sunday or Monday. But you're always going to get it that time of the week, and that's the consistency factor. I remember I had one guy write to me and says, I look forward to my Sundays, my Sunday nights, because I know that I'm going to get the next episode of Catch the Craze. And I like listening to you guys because it feels like I'm with my friends just hanging out. And that goes a long way. And it's funny because we're at this event. One thing that stood out to me was I met up with Omar Solis, and he's Hispanic and he's a filmmaker. And we were excited about going to Hispanics in podcasting and, the effects in the industry. And we were joking. Said, I bet you we'll be the only two that show up. And we go, the speakers didn't show up.
what?
We were the only two that showed up, and then there was just this black woman who came in, African American black woman. I don't know if I'm being politically correct, but she came in, and she comes in and she says, "Are you guys the Hispanics in podcasting?"
Oh,
And I said, "We are Hispanics and we do podcasts, but we're not doing the show." She goes, "Well, you should. Nobody's here." She goes, "I came all the way here for nothing." And it's funny because every other panel, which had nothing to do with ethnicity, was full. But these guys got cold feet last minute, and we show up, and we're the only knuckleheads sitting there, looking forward to being a part of this, and I didn't understand it, and then we go to these other, lectures, and I mean, it was extremely informative, worth every time, every minute that we were there. It was educational, but it was about being. This is Catch the Craze, and we have a phone call. Hold on 1 second. All right, that caller decided to leave. So anyway, it's funny how you go to a comic convention, you go to these, and you're sitting in panel rooms, and you're listening to the mainstream people talk. But you go to PodCamp, and you can go and give your own lecture as a member of PodCamp and have your own panel, and so you're talking to your peers and the innovators.
Right.
So it's a combination of both. It isn't where your popularity dictates whether or not you have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
In PodCamp, everybody has a voice. So they said, "Do you want to have a panel? Send us your program, and we'll set you up."
Okay.
But with like New York Comic Con, we can't get a panel because we're not big enough.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The little guys can't get a panel because it's not big enough.
Mm-hmm.
CAG can't get a panel because they haven't made a big enough voice, noise yet.
Right.
So it's like, but
Not
Marvel,
yet, anyway.
but Image is guaranteed. Tokyo Pop is guaranteed. Fantagraphics is
Right,
guaranteed.
I
Dark
hear
Horse, you know what I mean? So, but in PodCamp, which is a wholly different industry, it's basically technology and multimedia. It's a family, and you're working together towards moving towards the future. And comics, it's so competitive and so cutthroat that you either you're either made to feel inferior, weaker, or that you cannot live up. Your status is here and we're here. So like you can't go to a Marvel party if you don't know someone or you're not on the guest list.
Yeah.
But you can go to an independent party. You know what I'm saying? You can't. We don't want you here. We don't know who you are.
Right.
But with PodCamp, I sit in the same room with a senior level executive from Microsoft, and I can have a conversation, have drinks with him.
Right.
But and with the Comic Cons, you can't do the same thing with the Joe Quesadas in a private party because they don't want you there. They only want the media and the people they've you know what I'm saying? So it's so different. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't, and I look at them like, why does it have to be that way? You know what I'm saying? Why can't you? Do they not want stalkers? Do they want, overcrowding? I don't know what it is, but we didn't have that issue in PodCamp. PodCamp started out 200 people. When the event started, the day of the event, it was 1,700 people that showed up. It was huge. It was amazing. It was at the New Yorker Hotel, free to all. Everyone networked. The panels. Everybody broke for lunch at the same time. So that there's no panel from 12 to 1, so everybody go have lunch, or you can stay and mingle, whatever you wanted. But and then you were free to interview people and talk. You didn't have to feel intimidated, you know. And they encouraged participation in the panels. You know what I'm saying? Tell us what works for you with your show. What works for you with your show. You know what I'm saying? So you have these speakers who are asking you to contribute.
Right.
So it's one of those things where, wow, you felt like, damn, I'm important. But then you go to Comic-Con and you get like New York Comic-Con. They throw you up on the second floor, away from the main hall where everybody's at, and you're hidden up on the second floor. And there's the aisle space is not big enough to support. And the only reason why people are going up there is because of celebrities. They have to go through us to get to the celebrities.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you're made to. They want you $350, but that's it. You know what I'm saying?
But with the con, it's a double-edged sword, and what I find is that some of the independent Comic Cons are just not all, but not organized correctly. So the flow they do have begins to wane.
No, I'm talking about the bigger cons. Talking about the bigger cons like New York Comic Con.
No, I'm saying like in comparison. I'm not saying necessarily that one. What I'm saying with that is so the independent world kind of fights with that because these companies are now saying, well, y'all still have more to learn type of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When what y'all are doing, still there's a little gaps that may represent us poorly. I'm not necessarily saying that is the case, but sometimes I see you might run into that.
I say in comics, your voice is equated with finance.
That's true. That is true.
In podcasting, your voice is equated with talent. There's a big difference. You have a bigger voice in comics if you have the money to spend on advertising. Because you can have a bullshit product. But if you have the capital to go and buy, a full year's ads in Wizard Magazine and full page ads in Previews Magazine and get the exposure out there and pay for those solicitations, you know what I'm saying? And pay for the ads on Newsarama and pay for the ads on all these places that's going to generate hits and get to that fan base. Everybody wants to know you.
I find that in more than comics and more than the comics industry, though. I find it in music. I find it in literature.
Oh yeah, it's everything.
I find it's in everything.
Capital determines your lifespan.
Money is honey.
Yes.
Cream.
Get on top.
Cash rules
Cream.
everything around.
You can't
Well,
stop.
cream.
Yeah, I know. It's the fact of life. You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts of life.
Okay, soon. Anyway.
There's the time you gotta grow a show. You're growing it now. You know about the facts of
I
life.
didn't sing that. I just want everyone to know.
Michelle did not start that.
Disclaimer.
So it's just it's the fundamentals, and I appreciated PopCamp, and which is why, I mean, come on. I'm not saying New York Comic Con sucks. I am so happy that we have an event that size in New York City. Yeah. What I frown upon is the treatment that you get, because when you pay for something, you've paid for your respect.
Well, it was a lack of organization.
Right.
I'll say that right off the bat, because I know a lot of cats who are there who are well known in the business who have worked for the big two, Marvel and DC, and they were like, "This is bull crap. This is ridiculous. I don't even want to come here."
They made you, look, you had the option of Artist Alley, small press, right? They said they ran out of Artist Alley tables. Artist Alley was small compared to New York, to San Diego, even compared to Wizard. Artist Alley, it was small. We lost real estate to the conglomerates. That's basically it. To the Nintendos, to the PlayStations, to all these guys, we lost it to them. So now they said they ran out of Artist Alley tables. Oh, but you can buy a small press. So they made you ante up an extra $500, $600, $800, whatever it is, an extra on top of the fee to pay for a small press. Now, I know 4 guys in small press that when they got there, they had a spot, but they had no chairs and tables. Oh, you have to pay for that extra. But in the contract, it says 1 6-foot table and 2 chairs. They go, no, we don't have any more. You have to pay for extra.
Oh no,
that is absurd.
Yeah.
That is an atrocity. It is a disservice to the industry and to the people that
That's
you
right. You're spitting in their
call
face.
clients, because we are your clients.
That's true.
We are paid advertisers because we're basically buying ad space in your event because we're advertising our product. So, and it's disrespectful. San Diego, on the other hand, we are in the pit with everybody. We are there with ample room, great aisle space, the venue is just, and it's humongous. I don't know, have you ever been to San Diego?
no.
Shame on you.
I know.
Shame on you.
Money is honey. Money. Hello.
No,
I'm
but
working
no.
on that.
San Diego, we went. I mean, it's like it is Oz.
I'd love to go.
It's Emerald
Yes,
City.
I think I'd be in heaven.
It's Emerald City. I mean,
Yeah, it's
we've been there 2 years in a row, and I still haven't seen everything that I wanted to see. It's 3 floors high, 5 blocks long. It's just gorgeous. But it is the place you want to be, and you don't feel slighted. You don't feel like you're not important. I mean, I remember when we went there. Number one, it's so huge that we walked for 8 days just to find our spot, and we were tired. And so we finally found our spot. John didn't go with us this time, and I realized, hey, nothing's set up here, whatever. And then there wasn't enough chairs and whatever. I went to the back. Oh, we'll get it for you, sir. Boom. We'll get it for you, sir. Oh, can you just give us a few minutes? We're moving some crates, and we'll get right to you. Boom. It wasn't like, no, we don't have time for you. No. It was, sir, yes, sir, how can I? The event coordinators came by and said, how are you? How's everything? Is everything working for you? In an event that size, to get the time to go by and say, hey, how are you? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
you would
The
think
fact that they honored each year our same location, that was beautiful. And you didn't get that from New York, and it's unfortunate that New York has to be the place where everybody's rude. I mean, we
we have to capitalize on that.
Yeah.
We have to say, yes, you're right. Here you are.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. New York City is, you're going to walk in the street, somebody's going to bump you.
Right.
Someone's going to spit and almost hit your shoe. Someone's going to fart in front of you. A cab is going to run you over. A bus is going to splash water on you. Something's going to happen in New York to piss you off no matter what you're doing. Right. Something's going to happen. You know it. People are just rude. Right. And I know I grew up in New York. People were just downright rude. But does it have to spill over into an event like a Comic-Con?
Right.
Does it really? You know what I mean?
Right.
No, that's true. There's no
Come on,
that
because
there's
they also have to think there are tons of people that are coming worldwide practically
Right.
to see this,
Right.
to come here.
But look at this also. Remember last year when New York Comic-Con first announced? They were on every TV news station, every radio show. They were advertised on billboards, on buses. I mean, everywhere you looked, they was there. Then it was all over the news afterwards.
Right.
They turned away 10,000 people. Fire marshals came in. It was so huge. It was blah, 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 blah. This year, it was a moderate feeling around it. You knew Comic-Con was coming. Everyone's excited. You're hoping it's going to be like last year. It's bigger. But there was no announcements after the con. There was no news and press after the con like it was last year. And now, for these guys, they want to be able to be the equivalent, the East Coast version of San Diego. In order to do that, you need everybody to be excited. you want everybody to walk away promoting the heck out of it like they did last year.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You want everybody to walk away ecstatic. This is gonna be San Diego, man. You know, but not everybody did. It was so damn low key. The feeling there, I felt like I was just at a Big Apple.
True. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
It was-
wasn't there for the first one, but I was there. I was there for the 2007 one, and yeah, the momentum was just like
Yeah.
But even even the day they picked for the con, and the month they picked for the con, San Diego has an edge because San Diego does it in July, one of the highest traveling seasons, in one of the hottest times of the year. The con in New York, what was the temperature in that month? After about 10,
something like that.
you're standing outside.
I need some cocoa.
15 degrees, yeah.
No, but they're moving into April next year.
Yeah.
That's
So
what
that's
I
I-
heard they're gonna take over the whole
Yeah,
convention
they're
center.
supposed to be in the next 3 years. They're supposed to be taking. But I'm still rooting that they're gonna say, all right, you know what, we messed up with the little guys. Let's not neglect them this
that's
time.
what I'm hoping.
That's what I'm hoping for. Hoping that they say, let's not alienate them and throw them upstairs. You know what I'm saying?
I'm
You know,
skeptical.
it's like let's put them with the even like licensing,
I hope so. I hope you're right.
licensing international.
Yeah.
Licensing cost us $10,000 when we did licensing total. You know, $10,000. Anybody got money? I need some money, yo. If you're listening, I need some dollars. I need some dollars. And so licensing, it was a big expense. It really, I'm such a misfit. Anyway, so licensing, you go and you buy your spot, 10 by 10 booth, right? Licensing provides you with your tables, your chairs, electricity, carpet, name display on your booth, the whole bit, so people can identify you, whatever. You're not paying. You're paying several $1,000s for your spot, number one, but you can't afford what Disney can afford. Licensing in Disney and licensing is like a half a city block, and they had like 2 levels. You walk in, it's like a museum, and then you climb up the stairs, and they had a whole second level where all the network executives met and negotiated and all that stuff. Paramount had this huge, big, the conglomerates are all there. But at licensing, you didn't feel alienated. You didn't feel shafted, slighted at all. We made it into License Magazine as a little guy no one knows about, as one of the product highlights of the show. You know what I mean? They came over time and time again to greet us and say, how's everything? Do you need anything? Blah, blah, blah. People can find us easily. It was a great feeling being there. Should be the same thing. Should resonate and spill over to any event.
But how, and I'm just playing devil's advocate a little bit here, but how much was the table at the Javits?
$350.
$350. How much was the licensing table?
No, but no.
Oh,
you
spot, I
compare
should
compare apples to oranges, because
No.
equate Comic Con to licensing. Licensing minimum starts at, I think it was what, $5, $6 grand, $7 grand. I forgot. I got to look at my receipts, but it was high.
Okay.
Top
That's
dollars.
$5.
But now equate that in Comic Con dollars. The minimum is $350. That's what licensing the minimum is. The maximum is, if you're gonna buy floor space, you're paying hundreds of thousands. You're paying tens of thousands of dollars for whatever. So you gotta. It's all relative. So it's the same thing. We're the lowest bid on that prop spot. They gotta create space for the low guy, but you're still not alienated. So that's equivalent to the $350 table at Comic Con.
No, but what I'm saying is that it's harder to, even though it's equivalent, and I do understand what you're saying, it's kind of harder to legitimize not paying attention to somebody's 5,000 than somebody's 350. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm kind of like
Somebody's five.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
Like,
but it's
it's kind of like buying. Well, this is somewhat of an example. Buying a $50,000 car, and the car has a scratch on the side, and you buy, let's say, a $200 or $2,000 car and have a scratch. You're gonna be a lot more upset about a scratch on a $50,000 investment than a $2,000.
But that's you.
Even though it's 2 different brands of cars, you're looking at the dollars. It's hard to legitimize the difference.
Look at it from
you
a
know?
business standpoint. I am a businessman.
I agree with what you're saying, but
No, I'm a businessman. You are my client. My job is to make sure you're happy. My job is to make sure that you come back and spend more money. And make sure that you want the next time around to buy an ad space.
Right.
The next time you go, bring more clients. Talk about
That's
it.
just common sense.
Right. You are a form of marketing for me. Because if I sold my venue to you and the idea and the concept and win you over, you're going to talk about it to people who are going to want to go. You're going to sell tickets for me.
Now, I believe
From the high end to the low end.
I think if somebody's putting $2 into something, you treat them just as important as that person put in $10 million.
I got dollars in my pocket because, man, it pays to be smart.
Yeah, dollars and dollars.
Yeah.
It's like the commercial.
Yeah.
I told two friends, and they told two friends,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so on and so on and so on,
Mhm.
because you like the damn product so much and you like what was going on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's common sense.
Yeah,
It's
it's just
common
basic.
courtesy.
Well, it might be common to
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
might be uncommon to me. You know what I mean? So it's all relative. I mean, what
Guess so.
I say to my staff all the time. I have a direct staff that a direct line to me, 18, and I have about 45 others that are dotted line to me. But I tell them all the time. I said, what makes sense to me might not make sense to you, but I have to make certain that you walk away understanding.
Very good.
You know what I'm saying? So you might challenge me and say, well, I don't agree. I got to make certain that you understand why and why it's important. And when you walk away, believing in that. So that way you can go out there and implement it. Because if I don't, I did a disservice and I'm a poor manager. It's the same thing with anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like we get into debates all the time, you and I, and you get focused on this one thing until I have to penetrate that mind of yours. I have to get into the Cyfax mind and find that key word that's going to make you change.
No.
I walk away.
No, you are bullheaded too with stuff too.
Negative.
That
Absolutely
people
not.
can attest to this.
You're fired. You shouldn't even be here. I fired you 15 minutes ago. Why are you still here?
We are both bullheaded on stuff we want to.
Yeah.
That's why the show is so great.
Yeah. It is because of my 18-inch biceps.
And the 18-inch, that's my biceps.
Yeah, you got
I got
18 inch?
photos.
Yeah.
No, you got photos.
I got photos.
But somebody
What
got
do-
photos.
what-
Completely different
Somebody took my picture
show.
of my muscle.
Why do I
But
want to see photos of your biceps?
Completely different genre. Completely different show. Thank you very
different
much.
pictures of my show.
What?
I mean, on my biceps. Oh, Lord. Goodness. Anyway, go back to the point.
What?
I'm just playing devil's advocate. I agree with what you're saying. But, they may sit up and say, these guys, well, if you
These
want
guys.
if you want better treatment, you're only paying $350 for the table. Then you're willing to pay that.
No, you convinced
I don't
me.
agree with
You
that
convinced
attitude,
me
but,
that my $350 was money well spent. You convinced me
Exactly.
that I am respected as a businessman in your house. Because
Exactly.
I'm renting floor space. It's just like with any retail chain. You walk into Macy's, you have all these vendors, like a convention in a sort, because they're all selling their product. They're all renting floor space to sell their product. They're treated with the respect. You want that respect. Give me the respect I deserve, and I will come back. And I will invest more. And I will talk about it more. And I will help sell those tickets. Because you need me, I need you. From the low to the high. That's it.
Exactly.
If not, say bye.
Well, I gotta play devil's advocate so you can read them a little more. That's what I'm here for.
Play this. All right? Play this. On that note, we're going to end. And when we come back, we're going to be talking to Rich Bernatovech of Sentinels and Jumpfish Productions. He's a guy. And I'll be seeing him in Pittsburgh. And get ready for the car bombs. I am Santa Crazy Man Vera.
Jonathan the Psycho Sci-Fi.
Michelle St. Martin.
And we'll catch you soon.
2 years after Duty's first trip to Earth. Location, Laboria. Haven to smugglers, heroes, and others.
It was amazing. I mean, they unleashed an entire arsenal at me. A futile attempt.
You don't say.
There was a lone soldier.
A soldier? Wow.
Mr. Gorf, I understand you may be a hero in some sectors. Need I remind you, you are in the company of a superior intellect and should never disrupt one while in the midst of a statement.
You are correct. I apologize. Please, continue.
Where was I? Oh, yes. There was a lone soldier, outnumbered and surrounded. They came from the air, the sea, the land!
To find out what happens next in
Hi, I'm Duty from Uranus.
visit crazycomics.com for all of your Duty adventures.
Do you like comics? Well, so do we. The Comic Book Novice. Each and every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on 1240 WGBB and AM 1240 WGBB.com. Join comic book creator Mark Torres and his panel as they examine the current state of the comic book industry and interview professionals from the comic book field. That's the Comic Book Novice, every Thursday night at 9 p.m. here on 1240 AM WGBB and AM 1240 WGBB.com.
In case you haven't heard, the fourth year of Small Press Idol has started over at the Dime Store site. Projects have begun being posted and judged, but it's not too late to join the contest if you're up to it. Projects are being accepted this year through March 25th, so you have until then to get something in and see if you can be voted on to round 2, when the public voting will begin. The URL you want to go to is www.dimestore.productions.com/smallpress idol/idol07/index.html to read the guidelines and get the links to new projects as they get posted.
Welcome to Cast the Craze Podcast Audio Mix. I am your host, Sam the Crazy Man Vera.
Did Jonathan the Psycho Sci-Fax? Oh, I'm sorry.
No. Michelle St. Martin.
Okay, and we're here with a very special guest who's evolved into a friendship. He's a mutual publisher. His name is Rich Bernatovech, and he produces a book called The Sentinels. What's going on, Rich?
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good.
All right.
So, you know how we do here at Cast the Craze. We like to give everybody a little timeline of who you are, where you're from, you know, where you started and where you're going. So let's go back to the basics. You know, where were you born?
Originally from a town outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in Bucks County, and I moved here to New York about 14 years ago. So been here ever since.
Nice. Now, are you an only child or you have siblings?
I got siblings. I have an older sister.
Yeah. So now, as a kid, what were some of your influences? What were you into?
Comic-wise?
Anything.
Oh, anything? Always into, like, sci-fi films, actually any kind of movies, comics, of course, you know, cartoons, all that kind of stuff, you know. Heavily into, like, more DC. I didn't get into Marvel until, like, much later.
So what was it about DC that made you prefer them?
I think the heroes were all more iconic, you know, so that kind of drew me to them to begin with. Plus, they were kind of familiar from my childhood, you know.
Right.
As far as Marvel, all I kind of remembered was Spider-Man and, you know, like the Hulk, Captain America.
Right.
So I didn't know those characters as much as I did the DC ones. So
right.
At first, those are the kind of ones I, you know, was drawn to.
So what was your first comic you've ever read?
Actually, it was Titans number 34.
Nice.
Yeah, which was I think the Judas contract was starting. They had the whole thing with Tara being a traitor and everything. So I was hooked. The Perez art, I loved his art.
Wow. George Perez?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he's going to be at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I hear this is one of his last few shows.
Yeah, it is his last show.
Wow.
It's his last convention until 2009, I think.
Wow. So, what age were you when you picked up your first book?
I think I was like 12.
And you remember all those details?
Yeah.
You're a madman.
I'm a madman. Yeah, actually, there was a advertisement in the back of that issue that I got. So, like, the very first comic I got, there was this ad for an APA, which is an Amateur Press Association.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Back then, it was before the computer, you know, age. And I signed up for it, and I was, like, the youngest member in it. And those people were, like, rabid fans, you know. They were, like, crazy. And it pulled me into it, you know. They just got me into it. It was like, you know, people would write stories and draw things, and they'd collaborate, and then they'd send it to a central mailer, they called it, and they would put the whole book together. And then every 2 months, they would send it out. And so I made a lot of contacts through that. So, you know, my interest grew. And actually, George Perez and Marv Wolfman were both in that club. So, you know, I got to meet George Perez, you know, when I was like 15.
Wow.
So that was a big influence.
Wow, that's outstanding. So now, at what point in your life did you realize that you wanted to become part of this creative environment?
Definitely, you know, at that age, I definitely wanted to do stuff. I think when I was around 18, 19, I started working on a series with another creator who was in that club, who has since gone on to, he's writing novels and stuff. And we developed this whole series. It was very Vertigo-esque. It was kind of ahead of its times, but, you know, we were kids, and nobody kind of gave us a chance, and I went away to college, and, pursued other things. I was doing illustration, mainly like magazine type stuff. And then I moved here to New York, and I got into acting. So I still kept reading comics all through it, but then I got into the whole acting world, the theater, that kind of stuff, films, doing a little print, mainly off-Broadway stuff, and then kind of got back into comics around 9/11.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Have you taken anything from acting into comics? Was there anything that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like what?
Definitely. I think dialogue most importantly, and just plot. Character arcs and stories, and the pacing that you learn in that. I had to read thousands of plays, during the course of my school, and I think you just develop an ear for it. You learn how to tell what's good and what's bad, hopefully.
Right.
And then like every writer, you get better as you go. I hope.
Right. It's like beats.
Yeah, beats. Learning the beats and just finding the character's voice. I think it made it a lot easier, at least for me, because I could visualize them in my head.
Right. So what are rather than generalizing, like what are some of the things that you've done to make certain that your character has life, your character has heart?
Has heart? I definitely, really thought out each character. I gave them a background. What are their hopes? What are their dreams? What are their goals? Who are they connected with? Who do they like? Who they dislike? Lots of stuff like that, thinking of them as a real person. What they would wear, what they wouldn't wear.
Right.
The way they walk and stuff. And a lot of that is more visual than anything. I think the artist is responsible for a lot of that, but the artist that I collaborated on Sentinels with, we had a really good connection, and I would tell him little things, and he would pick up on it and expand it and sometimes change it, which was good, because you get a different point of view then.
Right. Right. So, as you're developing this, now was Sentinels the first concept you decided to put together, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, other than the one when I was, younger. Sentinels was an idea I had, just sitting around in school, doing sketches, wasting time in the classroom, you know. I just developed a bunch of characters, and I had this idea, and I thought it was strong enough. I knew I wasn't a strong enough artist to carry it off, but I still was going after it, on my own. But then I met Luciano, and that's when it really started snowballing.
Right.
Because he was so fast, and it just, like, hey, this is real.
Right. Now, what was it about Luciano that made you decide that this is the guy I want to work with?
He just got it for me. He just, the characters were dead on. The sketches that he did, the panel art he was doing, it felt right. When it feels right. Because I've tried to collaborate with other people, and I'm sure you guys all know how it is. Sometimes you hit it off with people, sometimes you don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, now when you conceptualized Sentinels, what did you, how did you prepare it so that way when the artist got it, all they had to do was their part? Did you have everything laid out? Did you write the script out?
In the beginning, I had full scripts, and I actually had drawn most of I'd say about more than half the first book. I had either thumbnails or full pages that I would, send him copies of, so he could see where my head was at. And then as we worked together more, like when we got to the second book, because we've done a total of 4 books, and that's the complete series. But when we got to the second book, I didn't need to do that. And there was, it was very easy because I could just briefly describe a panel or an action, and he knew what to do because he knew the characters.
Right. Right. So now, you decided to go self-publish route.
Yeah. Crazy.
What possessed you? What possessed you?
I guess just I was naive, I didn't really consider showing it to a lot of people, just because I didn't think they'd ever go for it. And I knew some other people who had self-published. It didn't seem that hard. I did a lot of research, so I went straight to trade instead of going to the regular 22, 24-page comic.
Right.
And financially, it seemed doable. You know, I saved up my money. I knew a trade was going to have a lot longer shelf life than a regular comic, and more stores were willing to take a risk on an indie comic that way. Plus,
Right.
as a reader, you know, when I pick up indie books and I get one and I'm really into it, I have to wait like forever to get the next one.
Right.
And it's frustrating. And plus, you don't get a complete story.
Right.
You know, even though ours was, you know, conceived as 4 trades, we tried to have each book be self-contained so that, you know, you were left wanting more, but you still, things were settled, you know what I mean?
Right. Right. So now let's talk about that. I mean, you have the finished editorial, and you partnered with an artist, and now you have the package.
Right.
Now what's your plan of
You
action?
got to do the hard work.
Yeah. So what was
I thought the other stuff was the hard work, but it turns out not. No, the hard work is going to conventions and, you know, trying to get people to take a chance on you, and, you know, dealing with the distributor, dealing with comic shops, trying to get whatever kind of promotion you can, whatever kind of attention, which is really hard, and, you know, for an indie book to get.
Right.
You know, hitting up the news websites, trying to make a connection there.
Right.
Getting a little buzz that way. Dealing with the printer. All that fun stuff.
Right. Now, when you came up with the idea of putting Sentinels and you said, all right, you know what, I'm going to self-publish, did you understand the expense involved?
More or less, yeah. Because, like I said, I had known some people who had done it, and I asked them, and I wrote to some people whose stuff I had liked, you know, and I, you know, asked a couple questions. I talked to the printer. I called up, you know, as many comic shops as I could and just asked them, you know, what their opinion was of indie books. And I talked to the distributor. I talked to Diamond, who's pretty much the main distributor of comics.
Right.
And just what they wanted to see, you know what I mean?
Right.
So and that's when I decided to go to trade, just from everything I was hearing. And it turned out to be probably the best thing I did, because each trade is kind of paid for the next one.
Right.
So, and I was lucky in that sense, you know. But it's a lot of hard work, and I know you guys know that too.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Were you satisfied with your numbers?
Yeah, pretty satisfied. I mean, I was. I mean, in the dream world, you know, I'd like to have, you know, great numbers, but I had okay numbers. And, you know, the conventions, at first it was a little hard, but each convention has gotten better because, you know, the longer you're there, the more people go, oh, I've heard of this.
Right.
And they'll give you a chance, you know.
Right.
The latest convention I did was New York Con.
Right.
With you guys. And it was my best convention yet, you know. So I'm hoping that Pittsburgh will be even better, you know.
Right, right. Yeah, we'll see you in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. So what makes an event great for you?
Like a convention event, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were talking about event comics. That seems to be the thing right now.
What's event comics?
You know, like Infinite Crisis.
Oh, okay. No.
You know, Civil War.
Yeah. No, I mean, what makes events, you know, a comic book convention good for you? You know, what?
I think the most important thing for me is the people that are there.
Right.
I think, you know, the people, the type of fans that are coming, and are they willing to look at new stuff? Are they willing to, you know, try something new? Just talking to them is great for me, you know, and people showing me their portfolios, I love that. And then the people you're with, you know, the other guys selling their stuff. You know, sometimes you get some with attitudes, and sometimes you get the laid-back people, which are cool. And that's the kind of conventions I like. Plus, the conventions that have big crowds, because you'll sell more, of course.
Right. Right, exactly. So let's talk about that. What do you do to try to dictate the response for your convention? What are your preparations for, and what's your setup like? What's the thought process behind your setup?
Oh, okay. Well, first, I just had the table in one book, and now as I've gotten to learn more, and I've seen more, at the New York show, we had some nice visual stuff we had on the back, you know, like on foam core, nice big posters, different types of things. This convention, we have some really big banners, which I'm hoping will draw people to us. We also, Luciano is actually coming in from Buenos Aires.
Wow.
The artist in the book. And then I have my second series, which is starting next year, and the artist on that is Jamie Faye, who I met at a convention.
Right.
And we're going to have him and Luciano there. We're going to do a daily art giveaway. Like if you buy a book, you get a lottery ticket.
Right.
And then, like 5 o'clock or so, we'll draw a name. And that seemed to work well when we did it before. So we'll do that again, get a little promotion, then just postcards, handing them out, talking to people. It's tough. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. You don't know what's really going to draw somebody to your table.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. But if you have a recipe, stick with it.
Yeah, and if you could have a nice setup, nice clean setup that, they can look at it in a nutshell and kind of get, this looks kind of interesting. They'll at least stop, and then you give them your pitch, and you have to get that on, like, really quick. Like, under 20 seconds is a good one,
Right. Right. So now, you said something that it stood out in my mind. You said that you love to look at portfolios.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Why?
Definitely.
Why?
As like, I've been there, when I first started out, before I was doing the acting thing, I was doing the drawing thing, I was doing the art, and I remember going to these conventions and people looking at your portfolios, and, I had a lot of bad experiences. People with they'd look at you with a little bit of disgust before they even opened it,
Right.
I don't want to be bothered, and these are like people you look up to. I mean, I'm talking big names,
Right.
And I'm not a big name at all. So if somebody's going to take the time to want to show me their artwork, I'm going to give them an honest feedback, but I'm also not going to be negative. You know what I mean? There's a way to say things to encourage somebody.
Right, exactly.
Plus, I enjoy seeing, I love indie comics. I love, people putting their ideas down, and it's just different aspects, like all the different visuals that people come up with. It's really interesting to me.
Right.
Kind of like remembering where you come from.
Absolutely.
Thing,
Yeah, and it's like, you never know what's going to stick in somebody's head. They could hear 20 good things, and then they hear one nasty thing, and that's all they remember.
Right.
So I don't ever want to be like that,
Right. So now, that's cool wanting to look at a portfolio, but is there an expectation of what do you expect from a portfolio when you're looking at it?
I expect it to have style, some kind of style, some kind of interesting visuals, like just something dynamic, I do want to expand my company a bit, so I'm branching out. I have one series that I'm doing next year. I have another one that I'm doing with Luciano where I'm writing and he's drawing, that we're putting together. And then I have 2 other writers who I've kind of brought in, so I'm looking for artists for them, that I'll kind of publish their stuff too. I want to publish other people's work, but I want it to be really good. I want it to, I want to find the right mix, and that's something that's kind of hard to do. So I think, you never know where you're going to find that person who works well with the other person. So that's why I like looking at portfolios, because I'm always keeping their cards and looking at their websites and keeping them in mind.
So what's the one thing that you hate when someone comes up to you and say, "Can you look at my portfolio?" What's the one thing that you just can't get over?
I don't really think there's anything that
You don't?
that I hate. No, I mean,
Stop lying.
If it's sloppy,
there you go.
I'm going to say you might want to try getting a better portfolio,
right.
Cleaning this up. I'm going to tell them, you shouldn't ink your own stuff. I like to see more pencil stuff than you're inking. You need to work on your figures or your background, a little bit more. You have, how's the flow of the page? How's the pacing? You can comment on stuff like that, but I don't hate any of it. No.
I do. No,
I just. What do you hate?
Well, I like the fact that you want to keep it more constructive than anything.
Oh yeah. I think you do have to keep it constructive, but I think one of the things, and this is from an artist. I mean,
I want to hear what you hate.
We all studied the masters.
Right.
We've all studied the market that we love, that we want to be a part of. We've all went and looked at what the portfolio packaging expectations are from Marvel and the submission package, and we all know that there are 11 by 17 storyboards. There has to be sequential pages. It has to be in a format. It has to be in sleeves. You know what I'm saying? What I hate is when someone comes over and they have loose paper spilling all over the place and there's no format.
Well, i.e. sloppy work.
Yeah, and that's the thing that drives me nuts. And I'm like, oh God, I gotta sit here.
That don't drive me so much nuts. But you know what? Now I do think of something. I do think of something I hate.
What?
I hate the ones who they draw just like their
mentor,
their idol.
Yes.
I don't like the tracers.
Right.
The people that have the exact same pose that I've seen in 10 X-Men comics.
The pretenders.
That I don't like, and
yeah.
I don't know. I haven't really seen. I mean, I haven't had to deal with that yet. But if I saw that, I would kind of be disappointed, I think.
So you've never had a situation where somebody handed you a portfolio and it was so out of sorts and unorganized that you just handed it back?
No, never.
You are a nice guy.
I haven't seen that many.
You deserve a hug.
No, but I haven't seen that many portfolios. No.
I'll give you one when I see you.
You deserve a hug. I mean, I'll tell you right now. I mean, no, honestly, I mean, being an independent publisher, sometimes I mean, I love to look at other artists just because for the inspirational value, and so even if it's someone who's a novice, sometimes they'll capture something that like, wow, I didn't even think about that, or an angle or something, so I learn from everybody.
Right.
But at conventions, there's an expectation. I mean, because we're there as publishers looking to sell,
right,
and we're looking to network and communicate to the masses. Mm-hmm. So when you have to stop what you're doing,
that's true. I mean, you got to be able to juggle. If
right.
somebody's coming up to my table, I just say, "Excuse me."
Right.
I say, "Hold on one second." I deal with somebody.
Right.
I try to. It's another thing. Being an indie publisher, you have to be able to deal with 3 different people at your table. Not make any of them feel left out because they'll walk away.
Right.
But in the case of some of these artists, some of them you got to take into consideration how old they are too.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, for some reason, I seem to get a lot of young kids showing me their art.
Yeah.
So there's a difference. I mean, you kind of go into it knowing that okay, when I open this, chances are it's not going to be the best art.
Right.
And I'm I don't want to discourage them.
Right. Right.
So, but I haven't had like the great portfolios shown to me yet.
So now let's go into your company. With Sentinels, basically, you've reached that point where it's completed.
Yes.
And now you're moving on to other projects. What did you learn from the production and marketing and exploitation of Sentinels that you're going to use to make sure that the next book has the same staying power or better?
Right. It's a good question. Well, production, I actually am a production manager at the New York Times, so I learned all my production things through them, and we deal with a daily deadline.
Right.
So production-wise, I don't know how much I've really learned, other than just to be quick. But as far as like staying power and all that stuff, it's just having a voice and making it distinct, I think. And hoping that my next series will do that, and whatever other ones I publish for other people or something, I want them all to have that. So it's just a matter of knowing. I think the more you do it, you learn.
Right.
You learn what's good, what's bad, hey, this is similar to this book. You need some kind of a hook to it.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, through Sentinels, all the contacts I've made with the websites, all the reviewers, the stores, the conventions, and hopefully the fans, the fans that I have for Sentinels will hopefully try out the next thing. So it's all about slowly building stuff, I guess. I guess that's the most important thing that I've learned.
Cool.
Now, it's an interesting thing that you said you worked for a major publication, New York Times. What is the strongest point in working with them that you think transfers over into the company that you're building that really sets it apart from other independents? Because you're very polished and professional with your approach. So.
Oh, thanks. I guess that's mainly it. Being polished. Having it look very professional. Finding the right printer. I think that's really, really important. There's a lot of printers out there, and you want somebody with good quality, even if it's a little bit more money. You kind of got to say, okay, well, then I can't do these promo postcards right now, or You know, I can't advertise a full page in Diamond. I got to do a quarter page or a half page. And I guess just, you know, the daily deadline of the paper just made me, you know, cut the crap really quick.
Right.
You know what needs to be done. You know, this is the, you know, A1, our A1 page is the most important. So, you know, you want to make sure that doesn't have any mistakes on it. You know, you got to make sure that the big news gets in there.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That's solid advice, man. That's really good.
Yeah. How about diversity of subject matter? Is that important to you? Do you want to focus on a certain genre?
Oh, totally. I want to switch it up. I mean, this is our superhero-themed book, so I'm kind of done with that for right now. But the next series I'm doing is more Vertigo-esque. You know, I want to deal with very psychological issues and this character who can get into people's minds and stuff. So I want to do that. And then the other series I'm working on with Luciano is a like sword and sorcery fantasy type book. So I want to kind of touch that too, so can have those different worlds. Because I think I told the story I wanted to tell with the superheroes.
Right.
I mean, I'd like to go back and touch upon it. Maybe we'll do like an anthology or something, you know, like a small book we sell at the conventions or something. But, and then, you know, I want to branch out with other writers, you know, and see what they come up with.
Excellent. Excellent. I think that's very important.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I wish I could do Sentinel. I could have come up with, like, I could have made it last a lot longer, but I also believe in closure, and, you know, it was hard ending it, but...
No, that's important to know, too, when to kind of sort of quit or put it aside and let something else take over for a little while.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it's almost like that 70s show. You know, they wanted to go out when they were on top rather than, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, for those individuals out there and the listeners out there who haven't picked up Sentinels or haven't heard about Sentinels and don't know about it and who are listening, give us basically the premise and, you know, the actual meat and potatoes of the story.
Okay. Sentinels is the story of a second... What?
What?
Oh, I thought you said something. Sorry.
No.
Getting a little echo there.
Sorry
about that. Sentinels is the story of a second-generation team whose parents disappeared when they were young, and now that they've stepped into the role of hero themselves, they get pulled into the whole mystery of what happened to the first generation. Wow. And each book is self-contained but carries that plot line throughout the 4 books.
All right. And you've never thought about soliciting it to a bigger publisher to...
No, I don't think they would go for it. I mean, we were unknown. You know, nobody had ever heard of us. We never did anything. The characters, you know, in the beginning, they looked so derivative of other characters.
Right.
I think that was a problem, you know, I have definitely with the first book. They were comparing us to everything else.
Right.
And it wasn't until we did the second and third one that they say, hey, that there's something different here.
Right.
You know, we played off a lot of different themes. Plus, we were indie, so we could do... You know, we could have the mature themes. We could do whatever we wanted.
Right.
You know, if we wanted to curse. I mean, not that we did, but, I mean, I'm sure there's a curse word in there, too. And, you know, and then, you know, we have different themes. You know, we deal with a lot of different subject matter, and we didn't want to be edited either.
Right.
You know?
Well, I wanted to just make, this is not really a question. It's more a comment towards what you said. I really give you credit for being so grounded about where the project was in relation to taking it to a larger venue or larger investors, because a lot of times, we was talking about this before, you hear the opposite. The independents think that there is no wrong that could be done with their project, and there's no improvement, and it's just exactly where it needs to be, and the world just don't know what's going to hit them. But
yeah.
But I think, and this contributes to your success and why you're such a great guest to have on the show, is you're so business-centered and grounded in your view. So I really want to give you credit on that.
Oh, thanks, man.
You know?
Yeah, I love indie. I love the indie books. I like supporting other creators. You know, I just I get a big kick out of seeing other people's stuff, you know.
So what are the pros and cons for being your own businessman in this business?
Well, the pros are you have no one to answer to but yourself. You know, you can do what you want when you want. You don't have to change things because somebody else doesn't like something. And you're, you know, the end product is it's a great sense of achievement when you finish it, and it's all because of you. The cons are a lot more, but I mean that feeling outweighs any kind of cons I could ever, just the sense of achievement you get outweighs the work you put into it, the hours you put into it, the money you got to put into it,
right?
And the negativity you get. I mean, anybody starting out in self-publishing, they got to know that they're going to get hit.
Yes.
They're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
They can't let that happen because it's just going to discourage you.
Yeah, we had a whole tribe of haters.
Oh yeah, you get them.
Yeah, there was a clan. Yeah. I thought it was going to be like the warriors, and we're going to walk down the streets.
Like I said, any creator, publisher, whatever have you, I mean, there's always going to be somebody.
Yeah, there's always going to be. I mean, think of like a couple of actors, actresses you like, and there'll be just as many people who hate those people.
Right.
It's human nature, so it's good to have the haters sometimes.
Yeah, as my father said, wherever you go, there's always an a-hole.
Yeah.
So, if you knew then what you know now, would you still do it?
Yeah, I think so. I'd like to think so. Hopefully I would do it better,
Right.
But definitely, I think I would.
If there's one thing of today's market that you would like to see changed, what would it be?
Just one, man?
Well, as many as you want to share.
Yeah, one. I guess just the incestuous nature of the mainstream books. It seems like they got the same people doing the same stuff over and over again. It's all shock and awe. And it's like, they do things without thinking through, like, oh, hey, let's kill so-and-so. And I mean, I'm not referring to, like, Captain America.
I was about to.
I actually think they have a story in mind.
Yeah.
For that, I actually think they have a story in mind. But I'm talking more about, like they did in Infinite Crisis. They killed off a whole bunch of, like, third-rate characters, which is fine. But every character has a fan.
Right.
So if you're gonna if you're gonna send them away, you're gonna do away with them, then do away with the little class, not just for the shock value.
Yeah.
And I think because you have the same voices writing all the books, we haven't had a change in the industry in a long time. There's no fresh voice. I mean, even the people that they're telling you right now are new. They've been around for a long time. They're all buddies and stuff. And I think it just becomes very boring, very stagnant. And no matter who you kill and who you bring back to life and who you make a lesbian, it's all the same.
Yeah.
There's no heart into it, and that's why I'm more into the indies.
Yeah, and it's funny because I remember being at Midtown Comics, and when there was, I think it was NBC News, were in Midtown Comics, and they were looking for the comic where they're announcing that she becomes a lesbian.
Right.
And they were getting all this hype because of it, and I think a lot of it's to sell books.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. They'd be stupid not to try to do big event things like that, but they could do it with a little bit of thought, I think.
Right.
I mean, so what? She was a lesbian. What did they do with that?
Right.
You know what I mean? They didn't really play it up. I mean,
I think the only thing they did was say, "Hey," but the other thing,
yeah, definitely.
That should have been on the cover of the book. Hey.
So the title of the book was "I'm Coming Out." But,
yeah, right.
Hey.
But seriously, I mean, there's a lot of lesbian comic readers. I'm sure there are. I'm not one of them.
But even they're like, well, where's the story?
Liar.
It doesn't mean I wouldn't read the book. You know what I mean? If it was like, it was a good book.
Yeah, there has to be a purpose.
Yeah.
Why? Well, why was she hiding it all these years? What was the impact? Where's it going? Who's it going to affect?
Yeah.
It's not like, all right, you know what? Our numbers are down. What can we do? All right,
Make her gay.
Yeah, exactly. Make her.
Give me ideas for my next
That'll
series.
bring up
Give her a third arm.
One book, but.
So what's your timeline for your new projects?
Right now, they're all in the development stage. The one we have the storyline all mapped out, and now we're just kind of doing the hard work on it. Doing the writing and the art.
Right.
And the other one, we're still, developing stuff.
Right.
And I'm really trying to push these at least two other guys I'm working with, like two other writers, to get their stuff. And so I can find an artist and get that going so that by next time for the New York Con, I hope I'll have like another project out.
Right.
But Sentinels took so long, it's nice to kind of take a break too. It was like so much work. It was, working a night job and trying to write and ink and go to conventions, and you know how it is.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Sometimes you wonder why.
Yeah, so it's nice now to just relax for a little bit, but soon, hopefully by the New York Con next year, I'll have another book out.
So now, what can people expect from you at Pittsburgh?
At Pittsburgh, we'll have the 4th book there. A lot of people who live out in that area, that's been a very good con for me. It was one of the first ones I went to, so we have a lot of fans out there. And I know a lot of them have been waiting to get the 4th book till they go there, because they knew Luciano was coming out and they want to buy it there, and they come back the next day and they've read it. At least that's been the pattern, since I've been going there, which is cool.
Right.
So we get like instant reaction. We're gonna have Luciano there doing artwork, so I'm hoping a lot of people are gonna get sketches. Jamie Faye and I will be showing some preview stuff of our book Neverminds, and he'll be doing sketches too.
Wow.
So, and just meeting people,
Yeah, and partying.
hanging out with you guys. Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but that'll be a good thing too.
Toga!
And you don't have to drive; it's all there in one location.
Exactly.
I love that.
You're at the same location?
What's that?
Are you at the same hotel?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we. So now, it's over. So talk about this project that you're working with Jamie Faye.
It's called Neverminds, and as opposed to Sentinels, where I had this large cast of characters and even secondary characters, I'm trying to keep this one kind of grounded with a solo character,
right?
And then just having some, other characters around her. More having one voice throughout the whole book, I think, is something different for me, and just doing different styles and different things with the visuals, because she can get into people's heads and stuff. So each time she goes into a different head, we have a different style for the art.
Right.
We're playing around with even having another artist do something with it or something. So we're kind of playing around with that part. And just making it. I want to make it a self-contained book, but with the possibilities of doing more.
Right.
Do you, just to tell our listeners out there, do you have, being a burgeoning company, Comic Space or MySpace or website address?
Right now we just have the website for Sentinels, which is www.sentinelsonline.com.
Excellent.
And but I am going to set up a Drumfish website very soon.
Right.
I have links to all the different books and stuff, and we're on a forum. We have a forum which has a link on our website, which is run by Philip Clark,
right,
who does Quantum Rock of Ages.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Philip, yes.
Yeah, so it's a really cool forum. It's a lot of other indie creators and different fans and stuff, and it's a nice little group. We've had no big fights, which is great.
Right.
It's rare in the internet world.
Ain't nothing more useless than an internet fight. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, believe me, you can join a forum and say, "Hi, I got a comic book," and they're like, "Get out of here, slobber!" And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's like what? Jeez.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody do that. And we get a lot of people that pump their stuff on there.
Right.
So.
Now, do you believe in acquiring a name to do a cover to help sell your books?
Not really. I mean, I kind of feel like I'm cheating whoever did the
interior.
That they can't do the cover.
Right.
I toyed with that idea in the beginning, but I wouldn't take that away from my artist.
Right.
Plus, I think they did a better job than anybody else could have, because they understand the characters and they know what the whole book was about.
Right.
So I think that's important. As an artist, myself, I wouldn't want that to be taken away from me. So.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when we started out, we were debating on that whole thing, and because that's the independence all home. I'm paying this guy to do my cover. I'm paying that guy to do my cover, and but then they don't have any money to pay for the printing, and
right.
Right.
And realistically, how many people are going to buy that book just for the cover? I know a lot are.
Right.
But if they don't like the story,
they'll never pick up
they'll
it
never
again.
pick it up again.
Right.
So.
Boom.
And
it's a 50-50 thing, I guess.
Yeah, I remember we had that discussion, and I chose not to, and I just chose to trust the guys in the team to deliver, and and that it works for us.
That's good.
So what's your 5-year plan?
I don't know if I have a 5-year plan. I don't really think that way, I guess. I just think, like, what's the next project? I'm not looking to make a killing with this. I'd be kind of crazy to think I would. But it would be nice to get something that's, kind of accepted by the mainstream. It'd be nice to get something that maybe some other mediums want to pick up or something. I don't write or create specifically with that goal in mind.
Right.
But I think with right now, with all the things that are crossing over, comics are, a great way to do that.
Right.
It's like a movie pitch.
Right.
Or a TV series, So that would be nice. That would be nice to get into something like that, I guess.
So when you're 70 years old, sitting on your porch,
right,
looking over at the horizon, which could be just, concrete jungle, but you're looking over at the horizon and you're reflecting. What would you like your message to the world to be, from what you've done over the period of time, like those decades?
Soon the show's gonna become a John Litham.
Yeah, right. I know,
if you were to go to heaven, what would you tell me?
Yeah, you just made me flashback. That's the school I went to,
Oh, yeah?
Do you know that?
You did?
The Actors Studio?
I went to the Actors Studio.
Wow.
With my team. So you're really throwing me back, man. I guess just that I did stuff with style and integrity,
right,
and something creative and unique.
Right.
That I'd be pretty proud if that was it.
Right.
That'd be something good and something that stands the test of time a little bit. I'm hoping people, 10 years from now are still looking to get the Sentinel books,
Right.
or whatever else I do, and they're still like, those things are good, something a little timeless,
Right.
So.
Right. So, I, for one, can just vouch. I mean, we've met the first time in the after party last year.
Right.
And, we've hit it off. I mean, I think you have a great character.
Thank you.
You're an extremely approachable person, full of life, and, my hat's off to you because you walked into this with the right frame of mind and the right expectations. You understand what you have, you understand the impacts, and I have nothing but good things to say about you and what you're doing, and I wish you nothing but the success, and I want to be able to anniversary this when you launch your new product and see what the how the fans react to it and see where your mind is at that point.
Cool. Yeah, thank you.
But is there anything that you want to send out? Say any last words you want to say to your fans out there, or to people who haven't actually picked up Sentinels?
I guess just you'd be surprised by what you read. I think giving something new a try. Never hurt anybody, and you might actually like it. So,
right.
Try an indie book. There's a lot of good ones out there. And I just want to thank you guys for having me on the show. I like what you guys do, and I look forward to hanging with you. And
yes,
that's what it's all about.
Nothing but car bombs.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Oh man.
It's over.
I can't believe I've forgotten my fudge.
So thank you, Rich.
Thank you, man.
You got it.
Thank you.
And remember,
man.
you got to visit sentinelsonline.com. And you haven't got a comic space page yet?
Not yet, man.
Oh my Lord!
I know. I'm so bad with the internet.
Catch the craze in the house. No doubt. So check the flow, cause you know I got soul. The name was Catch the Craze, baby. So act like you know what's called Catch the Craze. Catch the Craze. The one originator, the crazy creator. Giving you a fever with my boy Dreamer Medina. Weekly all the time with the newest and the best. Independence from the north, the south, east, and west. You got the SSS and the devils that are silent. Kiss me comics cause it ain't all about violence. Neat stuff collects in the brothers, the Dables. Crazy comics in the house are willing and able. The underground sounds from hip hop to rock. Jamming on the saxophone is my boy Philip Clark. Cause keeps it going cause you know I got to flow. The name is Uncle Sam, act like you know, act like you know. Catch the craze. Catch the craze. Yeah. I'm bugging out, baby. Catch the craze. Spread the word, have you heard?